everyone. Welcome back to our new series for the Asian Comms Network called Real Talk, Real Stories. If you don't know who I am, my name is Advita Patel, and I am one of the co-founders for the Asian Comms Network. Every week, we will be tuning in live across LinkedIn, across Instagram, and across YouTube, interviewing some fantastic people doing some brilliant work, either members of our community called the Circle, or our board advisors, or allies and advocates as well. And today I am joined by a fantastic guest, Nadia Padayachy. Hi, Nadia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So Nadia, we're going to go through a few questions so our community and our viewers and people watching get to know you a bit more as well. But before I do that, if you are watching us on live right now, please do say hello and where you're tuning in from. And please do share your questions for Nadia or myself as well. We'll make sure we get through them as we're going through our discussion. And if you're watching this back on replay, then feel free to also pop down your question and where you're coming in from as well, because we always go back and check our comments as well. So Nadia, those folks who don't know who you are and what you do you want to do a brief introduction?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been agency side, not client facing, more central services, and my career started in business development, which then evolved to marketing, which I now do at a leading integrated PR, public affairs and comms agency, Grayling.
Amazing. And how long have you worked in PR and communications and marketing now?
Nearly, yeah, nearly 15 years now. So quite some time. Definitely seen a lot of changes in the industry, and myself as well. It's been quite a journey.
So when I chatted to Aaron last week, we spoke about what drew what drew us into the world of comms and marketing, because it isn't a career that is often spoken about within our communities or families. Definitely not in my case anyway, and definitely not, the similar time when I started my career, which is about 15, 20 years ago. So what was it about communications, marketing, that kind of drew you into this profession? Because there weren't many folks like us, right? 20 years ago, 15, 20
Yeah,
years ago.
absolutely.
So what was your kind of inspiration? What got you started?
Well, I'd say it wasn't planned at all. I actually did my degree in English literature and then did a master's in criminology and criminal justice. But unfortunately, I graduated at a time when a big recession hit the country, which was almost 20 years ago now. And with those types of courses, you don't do internships in your third year. So I graduated with no work experience, apart from a brief stint at Subway. So the only jobs that would hire someone with a degree but no experience at the time were more sales, business development roles. And to be honest, I had no idea about the PR industry at all. I probably would have looked into PR intern roles, but I was actually quite clueless about the industry until I landed a business development role at a small PR agency, and then that's where it just took off and the role evolved. And I've always been at PR agencies since.
Amazing. What did you want to do before you got into PR?
Yeah, I think I definitely wanted to go down the criminal justice route initially, and probably was looking more into roles with police or within the
Yeah.
government itself. So very different.
Very
Um,
different. Still a very, unless you were going down like the lawyer, barrister, solicitor route, it's still quite a different approach to what we often get told when we're growing up, right? In terms of our career ambitions and what we should be aiming for. And our parents always want us to go for the more secure roles, right? So the
yeah,
more science-backed roles, engineering, computing or IT or technology. So doing something that isn't easily describable in terms of our career is something that our communities and our parents and guardians seem to struggle with overall, right? And I think when I spoke to Aaron last week, one of the areas we did speak about is how do we persuade or convince our parents and our community that the work we're doing is actually real good work. Did you have any pushback or resistance from anybody in your world, like parents, carers, friends, or family when you first got into PR?
I was very fortunate. I had parents that wanted me to just be able to follow my passions and do what I wanted. And they actually thought I probably should have gone down the artistic route, as that is one of my passions. But I knew that that would be quite competitive, and like you say, there's no real security in that. So I thought, no, I will just find my way, and they've just been really supportive with that. I changed degrees actually. I actually started off in maths, but it wasn't quite it wasn't quite the university lifestyle that I was looking for. And I did enjoy my time doing English as well. And they've just allowed me to swap and change what I've done. But I have just stuck in the comms industry. This is really fascinating. But I am not entirely sure they know what I do.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Ultimately, at the end of the day, as long as they are supporting you, and it sounds like your parents were definitely giving you the space to think about where you want to go and what you want to do, and changing degrees and going into a different route and starting a role that you weren't intending to start, but still having their utmost support makes such a difference
It
to
does.
our confidence, to how we show up as people, how we how we perform in the workplace. Because it's first of all, you're kind of working, PR, we know the research out there demonstrates, so PR, communications, marketing, right? Those
Yeah.
professions, the research shows that it is underrepresented in terms of race. And it is hard when you walk into a space or a community where you are one of very few faces in there. And that's hard enough to manage. And you have to try and navigate yourself and understand what your identity is in this space. And how do you show up where you're not taking bits away from you so other people feel more comfortable in your presence. But not having the support of your family or friends is even harder. So not only are you
100%.
dealing with potential adversity or even challenge in the workplace, but going home or speaking to others who don't quite get it can make it even harder. So Nadia, so having that, your parents supported you, but was there any other inspiration for you throughout your career that you kind of leaned into and thought, this person is someone that I aspire to be like or have inspired me in the work that I do? Anyone stood out
Yeah,
for you?
it has to be the people that I've worked with early on in my career at agencies, the teams that I've been a part of. Uh, there was some incredible talent on the teams itself, and they had drive and ambition, and they knew what they wanted and where they wanted to go. And I think that even though I was following a different path, not being client facing, it still inspired me on how I should work, best practices. I've always worked directly with founders or MDs and now C-suite, and they have been and still are mentors to me, and that has been really nice to be able to learn from them as I go, and really taught me the importance of your network and the valuable skills that you need to stand out, attention to detail, and I think with all of the people that I've admired in my time, they've also really valued my own creativity and what I bring to the table. So it feels like a two-way relationship as well. And I think that has really been what has inspired me and has shaped how I show up at work.
That's amazing. And again, having leaders around you who value your strengths and can see the potential and bring you alongside them, helping you and teaching you things that you just wouldn't really learn at university or even at
Yeah,
home. I've spoken about my parents didn't have a traditional office job. They've kind of always worked for themselves. So we never spoke about things like having a CEO or COO or networking, like going out and networking and building your community and finding those safe spaces to learn from each other. So having leaders, founders, CEOs that see you, hear you, and help you can make such a difference to your growth. And this is one of the reasons Fazana, Shoni, and I wanted to set up Asian Comms Network, because not everyone, as you will know, Nadia, from having chats yourself, is privileged or has that opportunity to be surrounded by great people who really value them. You're often, as I said before, having to shuffle your identity a bit or take parts away or take parts down from yourself so you fit in, rather than the whole culture ad, that which is what we advocate for, right? It's not about culture fit, it's about what addition can you bring to a culture. With that in mind, what's been one of your kind of boldest moves you've made, or the biggest risks you've taken in your career, would you say?
Well, I would say it's not something that I actually chose, but it was when I was made redundant, actually, and that meant that I had to really reconsider the things that I wanted when applying for roles. I hadn't done a job interview in over 10 years by that point. So, and the industry is tough, and it's tough at the moment. So it was really just trying to understand what I wanted was one of the biggest things that I had to think about. And it just brought everything into perspective, really, I think, and made me aware of the gaps that I wanted to fill rather than the gaps that I needed to fill in order to get a job. And I was very fortunate to get something within 3 months. I know people are still struggling at the moment, that can go on over a year of still trying to find a role. And then I think it's just always trying to keep on top of those areas, those skill sets and passion points, to really just keep myself going, I think. But you can't, staying in one place for so long, you can start to get comfortable. And I think that was the reality check that I needed to make something out of my next role.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough gig, right? Working somewhere for 10 years and then, like you said, you get comfortable with a certain behavior, certain values, certain cultures, and then being made redundant and you back out into this world you've not entered in the last decade. And you said, and you clearly articulate there that there are some folks who are struggling at the moment in finding new opportunities or have been made redundant unexpectedly and are facing a period of uncertainty. What are your kind of top tips or tip that you've got for folks who may be watching us thinking, I'm in the same position that Nadia was in a few years ago? Like, what was the first thing you did to kind of settle and ground yourself? Because it is a scary thing, going through redundancies that's outside of your control. And, it's been done to you at the time. And if you haven't had the opportunity to practice interviews or get out there and have different roles, where do you even start? What did you do?
Yeah, so I did reach out to my network, but also to people that have been in that position before. And actually, there's so many people when you do start talking and opening up, so many people within your own networks might have been in that position. And getting their advice was really useful. But it also, I think the first thing was to allow yourself to grieve a little, because it does feel like you've lost something. And you go through all the different stages of grief almost when you find out news like that. So I think it's allowing yourself the time to heal, and as important as it will feel to just, okay, let's get the CV going, let's start applying. I think you need to be in a place yourself to have the good headspace in order to carry on, because it is like a full-time job in itself to start job hunting, and tapping into your network, reaching out to people that you haven't spoken to in a long time, being quite vulnerable about how you're feeling, or what you're actually looking for, because your network can help, but they can only help if they know what you actually want. And I think that was definitely the first step, was talking to people.
Yeah.
And then I did reach out to, like I said, people that I've worked with before, and when I did have interviews, I would run my ideas past them because they are in the industry. They know the space. They are in senior leadership, and I think it's always trying to make and keep and nurture those relationships as you go in your career, because you never know what is around the corner. And it's almost like a form of self-protection, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of relationships and networking, because it is one of those things that I think a lot of folks do struggle with, in all honesty, especially when you are probably more reflective or more introverted. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of those terminologies, introvert and extrovert, because I do think it depends on the environment. You know, you can be in a very safe environment and be very extroverted, or be in a brand new environment and feel quite introverted. Everyone is very different, I would say, depending on what's going on around you. But you may be more reflective, or you may be more reluctant to put yourself out there if you haven't had a good experience previously, or you don't know how to even start the networking. And that leads me to like the Asian Comms Network, right? So you've been a member of our circle community now for a while. What was one of your biggest kind of pulls to join the community? What kind of inspired you to think, I'm going to kind of invest some time and join this ACN? Because it was brand new, right? You didn't know what was come your way.
And I think, well, the timing of it all, I think, was really important because we'd just faced the riots that had happened in that summer before you launched. And, you know, one of the things that I helped support with at the agency was to offer drop-in sessions for people that would have been affected by the riots. And that was actually it was really moving to do that, but also I got to know members of the community within the agencies that I worked for, which is also really valuable. And then realize, well, yeah, I want more of that. It's not something I had before, and I think that was my biggest pull, was the curiosity to know, okay, there's something out here that I don't know anything about, really. I've not had that opportunity before. So that pulled me in. And then, yeah, once I was in, I was hooked. I love the events. You know, such powerful discussions happen when we do get together, and the energy in the room is incredible. So not to mention just the amazing people that I've met in the time that I've been part of the group. So it's been really rewarding and inspiring.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, it's so difficult when people ask me like the events and stuff, especially like the energy is it's so vibrant. And it's
Yeah,
really difficult to describe it as well, how it feels to be in a room full of people who are like you. You know,
yeah,
we
yeah,
spend so much of our lives being in a room where we're the minority, or feel a little bit uncomfortable when you're one of very few people sometimes. But being in a room where people are talking about Eid and Diwali and Chinese New Year and the lunar moon, and you know, things that people relate to and connect with, it just makes such a big difference to how we feel. And you feel, somebody said to me actually in the very first couple of events actually they came to, said it's almost like they can breathe deeply, like they can
yeah,
take that deep breath and feel safe to talk about some of the challenges, not only facing us in the workplace, but also in our own lives and in our own communities. You know, some of the responsibilities that we have that other cultures and races may not relate with, because it's so different to what we have to put up with. So that's, you know, that's why when we talk about doing the in-house event, in-person event, sorry, we're very keen on it being, you know, vibrant and joyous, and learning opportunity for you to connect and network, but also for allies to be part of it as well. We never wanted to
yeah,
close any of our events off. It's always about inclusivity from the other side as well. So bringing folks who want to learn more about South and East Asian professionals in the communication, marketing, and PR space, and understand what they could do to learn more about the work that we do as well. So we do try and do that. So it just is a good time to just share with folks who are watching that we have got a dinner, a celebration dinner, because yesterday we turned 1 year old. So it was this time last year we set up the Asian Comms Network, when we had that dinner at Churungi, the very first dinner. It was on August the 5th, 2024. So it's been a year. And to celebrate the year, we're hosting another dinner next week on Wednesday at a beautiful Korean and Japanese fusion restaurant called Jang. And it's going to be fantastic to get folks together and just reflect on our year and talk about what we want to achieve for the year coming and connect with, as you said, Nadia, different people and different voices as well. So if you're interested, I'll pop the link to the booking on the comments after this. We finished our chat, but we'd love to see you if you can make it. So when you think about, we talked about some of the great things that have happened, Nadia, with some of the support you've had and the mentors, the networking, you know, giving yourself grace when you're going through challenging periods of your life. But would you say that redundancy was one of the toughest moments in your career, or have you faced something even tougher? And if so, what was it that kind of got you through that kind of tough period?
Yeah, I would say redundancy was probably the hardest, only because I also have two young children, and you know, lots of responsibilities in that sense. So redundancy did feel like the most hard hitting. But I think one of the challenges is actually the lack of representation in leadership that then actually has an impact on your own confidence to do things. And I think that's more of an ongoing challenge, if that makes sense. It's, I think, not seeing someone that looked like me in leadership positions is something that I think it just feels like an uphill struggle to just feel like you can bring your whole self to work, or go after those positions of leadership and have that confidence. So I wouldn't say it was like a particular moment, but just feels like an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, it's hard because what you can't see, you can't beat. That's what I've always kind of seen and the thought as well. So when I go into boardrooms or go into senior management meetings to present or do something, and you don't see anyone like me around that table, it just makes you feel, is there, you know, is there ever going to be an opportunity for me to ever have a position in this room? You know, if it hasn't worked for some people before me, why will it work for me? And that's when that kind of inner critic and self-doubt creeps in, right? And you kind of stay below the parapet a bit because you start convincing yourself, well, if I haven't made it and the people before me haven't made it, then what are the opportunities then for me? Like, what's different about me for me to break that pattern of behavior that's going on here? And it can get like so integrated in that behavior and belief that you stop yourself from moving forward. Because it does make a big difference, you know, seeing people who have succeeded in those senior leadership positions and are thriving and are doing some fantastic work is critically important to the generation who's coming behind them, so they can see hope. We always say, like, you know, hope over fear always is the better approach, because when you feel a sense of hope, you can make a big difference. Which again, you know, this is another reason we wanted to do Real Talk, Real Stories on the live stream, because there are so many brilliant individuals that are in the Asian Comms Network and are doing some remarkable things that they deserve to have their stories heard, and for others to kind of see what is out there. Because like I said to you just before, what you don't know, you don't know. So it's so important, and this is my kind of plead to those folks who are watching, that, you know, don't think that you can't, you know, show off a little bit about some of the great stuff you're doing, because we have been conditioned, not only in terms of the British culture, but generally as the Asian culture, to be more humble and not to make a big deal about yourself, and keep your head down, and don't, you know, no one likes a show off. You know, no one likes people putting themselves out there too much, because, you know, you're going to get the evil eye or whatever. You know, they say all sorts of things, right? So we're very mindful about how we show up and what we say about ourselves. But in my experience, if we don't put ourselves forward, then who will, right? Who's gonna come and save us? Because no one will if we don't believe in ourselves.
Absolutely.
to do it. So if you are sitting on the fence about an opportunity, or you're not certain about whether or not you should be part of a community like the Asian Comms Network, or whether or not, to Nadia's point, get out and about networking, then what's the worst that can happen? That's what I try and say is, I know there are situations where you don't want to put yourself at risk. I completely understand that. But having a network, having a mentor, having a coach, having people around you who understand, and speaking to them will definitely give you that boost. And we do need to see patterns changing and emerging. And we've got some brilliant directors and C-suite leaders within the Asian Comms Network. Not enough, but we do have them, and we can see their voices being seen and heard. But a part of the ACN is definitely raising the visibility of some of these brilliant people and giving people like yourselves and others opportunities to be seen and be heard. Binal's just said it's called Nazar, the evil eye. That's what we get told, right? And you put the black dot behind your ear. So if you show off too much and you say too many things, people are going to give you the Nazar. So put that black dot behind it. It's those cultural things that are ingrained, like we get told that quite a lot, and it does stop us putting ourselves out there, and in comms specifically as well. I mean, we're terrible as an industry as well of sharing some of the great stuff we do. Most of our work is behind the scenes. Our role is to help our clients and help our leaders be seen and be heard. And I wrote a post today about ghostwriting, and that's what we end up doing. We don't get the credit. So we definitely need to do more about that. You spoke about your young children, and we talk a lot about the generation as well that's coming. What piece of advice do you have for them as they're starting out in their career? Like, what's that one bit of nugget that you would hope that you wish you knew at 21 and 22 as you were starting out your career?
Yeah, and I think, it's similar to what you were saying just now, and I think it is finding your tribe, to find those people that can give you that confidence boost to help you carve out the path so that you know where you want to go. And sometimes it is about confidence, and I think it's having that confidence in yourself to go after the things that you want, and it's only if you have the people around you as well, and your network or your colleagues or your friends or your family, they can be that tribe. But I think really finding the people that have the similar passion points as you can help inspire you to go after what you want, but to just not be afraid of not being afraid to go after it, especially if you don't see someone like yourself in that role. Be the first,
Yeah. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated, right? That's my favorite mantra and quote. And if you don't have the seat or the table or the community, then build your own. And that's what I've always kind of preached as well to myself, where I've spent a lot of my time trying to fit into places where I just didn't. And I was tolerated, not celebrated. So what can we do to change that, right? Create your own. Create your own community, create your own space, find your own people, get yourself out there. Never fear rejection. Rejection is redirection. I say that all the time, that, you will get some no's and people will ignore you or may not want to mentor or support you. That's okay. But the fact that you've asked them and you put yourself out there to ask them, and you put yourself in that vulnerable position that you spoke about, you've done it, right? And you haven't let yourself down by not doing it. So if you are watching again, your advice is sound. I think the theme of today's chat is definitely about building your network and finding your people and making sure that you're surrounded by good, positive energy, because that is something that will carry you far, especially in a world that we're in right now, which is tough. The space and the conversations around diversity, equity, and inclusion almost bring shame on individuals who are different from the dominant culture. Like, I daren't speak about my race. I daren't speak about my gender. I can't speak about my religion because people might think I'm using that as an excuse to get seen or to be heard, because it's all about meritocracy, right? And you and I both know, the works that we've done, that the work we do, everything about the work we do is about merit. Nobody wants to be given an opportunity that they're not qualified for, and at least not folks within our networks who work hard and triple hard to be qualified and certified to bring that experience. I think what we talk about here is giving everyone a fair chance and equal opportunities to apply for those opportunities in those rooms that we don't often see faces like ours. But yeah, thank you so much, Nadia, for your time, your energy, and this conversation today. We've got a couple, just got 1 minute, if that's okay, because I had a question in from somebody who says, how do you feel about being in the global majority group? Which is a really interesting question. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like it, but I think it just it's a work in progress, isn't it? And I think like we're never going to be done. We're never going to be finished. There's always I think it's more that we just need to keep pushing for what we want, and like you say, like equality, inclusivity. I think it just needs to be seen from everyone and everywhere. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I agree. I mean, controversially, I don't like that phrase, global majority. I feel it takes away from the challenges facing that group, and there may be more Black and brown folks in the world. That's fine, but the discrimination and the discrepancies and the systems and the biases that we face is unfair, right? In terms of the opportunities that come our way. So yes, we may be part of a global majority, but to your point, we are still treated as minorities, and especially in the countries that we live in, like in the US or the UK and mainland Europe and places like that. And it was a brilliant quote that Satnam Singera, who said he took it from somebody else, but and he came along to our February event, and he said, we're here because you were there. And that's something that I hold quite, remind myself of sometimes when people question, why are we here then? If we're so unhappy with everything that's going on. And it's not about being unhappy, but it's about making sure we have fairness. So as much as I recognize and understand why that phrase is used to describe people who are, from Black communities, Asian communities, etc., it still, I think, takes away from the challenges facing folks. So I am proud to be part of a thing, like global majority. I'm proud to be Asian, and I'm proud of my heritage. But I do believe in fairness, and I do need to have more equity. And I think the systems that have been built have not been built for people like us, and that's what we need to address. And it's not about getting more than anyone else, but it's about making sure that we have fair chances and opportunities. So good question. I think it'll be great to see what other folks think in the comments as well. What do they think about that phrase? Is it something that can hinder our progression, or is it something that can help our progression? But I think it's a great. I'm going to end our chat on this quote that Binal's just shared, saying, "There will never be another you in the universe." And I couldn't agree more with that, Binal. I think you are spot on. We are 1 in a billion chance of being born. So what's the worst that can happen if we don't take those chances? Well, thank you again, Nadia, for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I mean, it's been a fantastic conversation, and thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty today. It's been brilliant. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great. I am actually the only Nadia Padayachy on there, so not hard to find. So actually, I have 2 profiles, but can't get rid of the second one. But and then Instagram, my full name.
Amazing. That's fab. And we'll share your links in the comments as well, so people can follow and connect with you if they wish to. But again, just a quick reminder, if you are around on the Wednesday, the 13th of August, then please do come along to our celebratory dinner at Jang. We'd love to see you there. And I will be back next week, with a fantastic guest. So please do tune in, and we'll see you all then. Thanks again, Nadia.
Thank you.